Geraldo Rivera joins us with the Daily Take right now. Yeah, the White House is saying, Geraldo, 4 to 6 weeks still. We're in week 5, but this is anything from an all-out ground war, it sounds like, to some of Jessica's points, to, a peace deal while the two of us are on the air. I mean, with what we're hearing, what do you make of it all?
Well, from your lips to God's ears on that one, I would love to have some good news out of this damnable conflict. To me, all of the indicators are pointing toward escalation.
Yep.
Whether they're going to use the 82nd or the Marines to take Karg Island or liberate the banks of the Strait of Hormuz or go after those nuclear, materials. I don't know, but it just doesn't seem very optimistic to me. If I were a betting man, I would think that it's going to get better before it gets worse. It usually always does, as I've been preaching. But the one thing I want people to realize is that despite this tremendous escalation and the dramatic appearance of the 82nd Airborne 1st Combat Brigade Team and the MEU, the Marines coming with the fleet, that's 10,000 elite extra warriors, about 50,000 total. That's nowhere near enough military capability. Iran has a 1 million man plus army, with tanks and all the rest of it. Of course, a lot of that would be wiped out by our air power and so forth. But this is by no means, a cakewalk. Iran still has lots of cards, and we have consistently underestimated their capacity to suffer. We've inflicted, the U.S. and Israel have inflicted tremendous pain and suffering on Iran, and they're saying, bring it on, bring it on. So I don't know where this damn thing's going, Connell.
No, it's hard to tell. I mean, especially with the idea that they have seems like we were talking about a few minutes ago, a tighter hold than ever on Hormuz and that strait. The Pope talked at Palm Sunday Mass, I guess, about Trump and Netanyahu and whoever's running Iran. And here's the quote from Pope Leo saying, "Brothers and sisters, this is our God, Jesus, King of Peace, who rejects war. No one can use to justify war. He does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war, but rejects them, saying, even though you make many prayers, I will not listen. Your hands are full of blood." Your hands are full of blood. Any thoughts on that?
Well, is he talking about Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War? Who is he talking? Is he talking about the Ayatollahs, the mullahs, the Iranians? Is he talking about all of them, all of the above? If it's that, if it's all, damn the war makers, I guess I'm fine with it. And I understand how he is reluctant to put his support to any of the combatants in the current conflict. And he is, remember, the first American Pope, Pope Leo.
Yep.
And very, to English speakers, very accessible. So he could be influential, but what he's saying is that the Vatican is neutral. God is neutral. God likes people who make peace, not people who make war, especially wars that are in some ways unnecessary or voluntary kinds of commitments of huge amounts of pain and suffering, Connell.
How do you see the politics of all of this, Geraldo? Have you thought about it? Did you watch any of those No Kings protests over the weekend? I mean, there was a ton of people out all over the country.
It's crazy.
The president's down like 40, maybe low 40s in percentage in terms of approval. What do you make of the politics of this, the opposition to this president now, and where it's all going?
Extremely impressive turnout, 5 to 8 million across the country, here in the Cleveland area, multiple locations, very well organized, very committed to the cause of peace, lining sidewalks, not blocking traffic, at least not in this area. There were just the turnout of committed, passionately engaged people indicates to me that if the midterm were any time sooner, I would think that there would be a rout and the incumbents would be run from office. Because this is, to me, I don't, in my mind, maybe going back to the pink, rallies over abortion after Trump's first inaugural. Maybe that matched this passion. But this, I think, even this is more widespread than that. This is the biggest involvement that I recall since the days of Vietnam, where so many tens of hundreds of thousands, millions of people, millions of Americans, many of them, interestingly enough, Gen Zers, who, and many of them men also, who all voted, or a lot of them voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Now you have a situation where he appears, you know, you talk about his approval ratings. I saw one where he's down to 36, another where he's at 38.
Yeah, the average is about 40.
If he loses the...
Yeah, well, I was going to say, remember we kept doing all those stories. It might have been the wrong story about, is he losing MAGA support? You look at those numbers, at least my reading on it is, that might be all he has left, you know, is the MAGA real base, right?
I agree with you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.